Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Shackle 5858. I am Amish Shackle. Following news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air in the West, the historic high-stakes summit, President Trump and Vladimir Putin in front of the cameras just moments ago. Where does this go from here? President Trump and Vladimir Putin face-to-face on American soil. The extraordinary scene from Anchorage, Alaska. President Trump welcoming Vladimir Putin to the U.S. The warm reception on the red carpet. The two leaders shaking hands. Putin then smiling while riding in the presidential motorcade in the Beast with President Trump. All of this with the future of the war in Ukraine hanging in the balance. Reporters asking Putin will he stop bombing civilians in Ukraine. President Zelensky, who was not invited to the summit, waiting for that promised phone call from President Trump. Our team from Anchorage, Alaska to the capital of Kyiv in Ukraine, all standing by. What we know so far tonight, and will there be a ceasefire? The other major news this Friday night, Tropical Storm Erin, now officially a hurricane, expected to quickly become the first major hurricane of the Atlantic season. They're now forecasting a Category 4 storm. How close will it come to the east coast of the U.S.? The newest possible tracks just in tonight. The federal takeover of the police in Washington, D.C. Tonight, the emergency hearing, and what the judge decided. The Idaho College murders tonight here, the chilling surveillance. Now released, it shows convicted killer Brian Koberger's car circling the neighborhood the night of the murders. What it reveals, and tonight what Koberger is now reportedly concerned about in prison. Tonight the NCAA hitting Michigan football with major punishments over the sign-stealing scandal. The white powder scare in New York City, 5 envelopes, and what was inside. Tonight the hiker at a state park, authorities say he did not survive after being bitten by a venomous snake. Frightening moments involving a cargo jet trying to land in heavy winds, the plane's right wing scraping the runway, sparks flying, and engine damaged. Tonight, the former NFL star, his home ransacked. Authorities say his Hall of Fame ring stolen. And tonight, the event right here on ABC. Dolly Parton is here tonight with a personal invite for you and how you can help. From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight. Tonight on Should We Be Concerned, Republican Congresswoman Anna Melina Luna recently told Joe Rogan that she's seen classified evidence of UFOs as interdimensional beings. Watch.
Some of the tech that exists, that whatever these things have, these energy things have.
Things?
Yeah. Well, they call them interdimensional beings. Very credible people have reported that there have been movement outside of time and space. Have I seen a portal open? No. Have I seen a spaceship? Personally, no. Have I seen evidence of this? Yes. Have I seen photo documentation of aircraft that I believe were not made by mankind? Yes.
Finally, there you have it. Proof. Proof that maybe someone was told something from someone who saw something that might be something from another dimension or something. I haven't heard such unconvincing testimony since Kudlow told me it would clear up in a week or two. We do have an expert here, Harlan. You were an astronaut in a film where you went to Mars. Can we roll that clip, please?
If we stay on this heading for another 20 minutes, we'll see the film.
What? I didn't do anything.
Oh my God. No. Hey. Don't do that.
Oh, man. Oh. Was me.
That wasn't me. Well, no, in fact, that won Best Picture in the Oscars in '97. But Harlan, do you get the feeling that they have nothing? They just like teasing us?
Yeah, because you look at what do we really have here in terms of evidence of aliens. So they tell us through these extraterrestrial beings that are way smarter, more intelligent than us. And what do? They come to Earth and do crop circles. It's like, hey, we're smarter than everyone. Let's go to Earth and do donuts in the corn. And I hope they do come to Earth, because if you've seen those long string bean fingers they have, I'm going to run up to the ship, rip my shirt off, lay down, and say, give me some deep tissue, you freak. Bean fingered freak.
It's true. All they do is crop circles and anal.
Well, I don't want that part. But I've dealt with this time and space kind of shifting. Every time I fly on American Airlines, I get to the terminal and my flight seems to shift about 5 hours. And then I get in the air and I'm in the middle between two fatties and I have no space at all. So I believe in it. I believe in it.
Michelle.
Air Canada braces for impact this Friday night. Hundreds of flights canceled and arbitration rejected as flight attendants prepare to strike. Whatever needs to be done, we will do to get back talking. Travelers left in the lurch as Canada's largest airline faces a full shutdown. Trump and Putin face-to-face in Alaska. Will this pivotal meeting pave a path to peace in Ukraine? Plus, seeking closure.
Make sure to bought that murder out here.
The message from a murder victim's family to a Winnipeg serial killer. And he's going to need a bigger board.
I was like eye level with its eye.
A Nova Scotian's up-close encounter with the most feared shark in the ocean.
Global National reporting tonight. Carolyn Jarvis.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Air Canada is now just hours away from a shutdown unless the airline and its flight attendants can reach a last-minute deal in their labor dispute. The union is asking the airline to resume good faith bargaining and urge the Federal Minister for Jobs and Families not to intervene. 500 flights are expected to be cancelled by the end of the day. Air Canada Express flights run by Jazz and PAL Airlines will operate, but only serve about 20% of passengers. And come tomorrow at 1 a.m. Eastern, flight attendants are poised to walk off the job. Thousands of travelers are scrambling to deal with the disruption. We'll get to your rights as a passenger in just a moment, but first, Denise Ugarcha on the dispute deadlock.
Rain falls on a grounded Air Canada jet while a WestJet plane glides by, a snapshot of a national travel crisis waiting to take off.
If you don't have a confirmed booking, don't come to the airports.
We do have extra staff, both in the terminal and in our operations today.
Airports are busy as the union representing more than 10,000 flight attendants has rejected Air Canada's request for binding arbitration, leaving tens of thousands of passengers in limbo.
Hopefully, we go home and not be stuck at the airport.
Hotels aren't cheap. I looked, and the cheapest one I got was like $300.
In a statement, Minister Patty Hajdu's office said it's strongly urging the parties to work with federal mediators, adding this dispute is causing a great deal of anxiety and frustration to Canadians. Right now, the only focus should be on getting a deal.
I'm not mad at them for what they're doing, so, it's the part of life. Concerned? Yes, I just want to get to my next destination.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Health officials in Gaza say Israeli attacks have killed at least 21 people since dawn today, as an intense heat wave compounds the suffering of Palestinians who continue to starve under Israel's blockade. Among the dead, a 1.5-year-old Palestinian boy killed when an Israeli strike hit a tent in Gaza City. Several of the boy's family members were injured. The UN's humanitarian office warns the nutritional status of Gaza's children continues to deteriorate due to Israel's siege, with almost 13,000 admissions of children for acute malnutrition reported in July. On Thursday, the emergency department of Gaza's Nasser hospital flooded with raw sewage after an Israeli strike damaged nearby infrastructure. The hospital's director said Israeli forces were blocking efforts to repair the broken sewer lines.
The problem is not inside Nasser Medical Complex. The problem is outside. But it is in an area known as the Red Zone, which the municipality or any other institution can't reach without coordination with the Israeli occupation. To be able to resolve this problem, the coordination needs 72 hours, according to what we've been told. The situation is tragic and we can't afford 72 hours. The hospital will collapse.
Israeli forces are carrying out raids across the occupied West Bank with at least 20 Palestinians arrested since last night. Separately, Israeli settlers attacked the Palestinian village of Atara north of Ramallah, setting fire to several vehicles.
Tonight, President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin meeting face-to-face. But what has been accomplished at their historic summit? The two world leaders descending from their jets, shaking hands, then riding to the high-stakes summit together. The stunning image of Vladimir Putin smiling inside Trump's armored car. Did the Russian leader go off script? The two leaders meeting for hours behind closed doors before changing plans again, coming out together. The Russian leader calling their meeting, quote, constructive, and President Trump hailing great progress. The two leaders, though, not taking questions, leaving the state of their conversations unclear. The words behind the two leaders pursuing peace, setting the stage for the crucial meeting about a bloody war that has already cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Richard Engel joins us on the ground in Ukraine as the invasion rages on. Also tonight, Hurricane Aaron getting stronger by the hour, on track to be a Category 3 by tomorrow night. What's its track could mean for the East Coast? Military vehicles on the streets of the nation's capital, D.C.'s growing power struggle as the Attorney General tries to take over the police department. What city, she says, could be next? Breaking tonight, the mayor of New Orleans indicted. The long-running investigation leading to federal fraud charges, all stemming from an alleged romantic affair with a city police officer. The stunning survival story, a man saved after being trapped behind a waterfall for 2 days, the extensive search, and our conversation with the rescuer who saved his life. Plus, the marriage proposal months in the making, the big question carved into a big cornfield, how he pulled it off, and did she say yes? Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News, the Trump-Putin Summit, reporting.
President Trump rolled out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin here in Alaska.
They discussed war and peace in Ukraine, but headed home with the war raging on. We really made some great progress. From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News. Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois. President Trump and Vladimir Putin of Russia have wrapped up their meeting in Alaska and are now heading home without releasing any details or an agreement on how to stop the fighting in Ukraine. They met behind closed doors for nearly 3 hours today at a hastily arranged summit at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, with the goal of ending Putin's long and brutal war with Ukraine. John Dickerson is in Anchorage to lead our coverage. And John, again, they took no questions, did not share any details, and the war rages on tonight.
Greetings, Maurice. That's exactly right. The two leaders say they had a productive meeting and made progress in their talks. President Putin said they reached an understanding. President Trump was quick to say there's no deal until there's a deal, and said he would have discussions with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and America's NATO allies. They took no questions from the press. The summit began with a warm handshake. Mr. Trump and Putin clasped hands and smiled like old chums on the red carpet. There was also a military flyover, which included several F-35s and a B-2 stealth bomber that was flown in from an Air Force base in Missouri. President Trump was joined at the talks by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Putin was joined by two of his... Good evening, I'm Jeff Bennett.
And I'm Amna Nabaz. On the NewsHour tonight, President Trump meets with Russia's Vladimir Putin in Alaska, with the future of the war in Ukraine hanging in the balance.
Washington, D.C. sues the Trump administration for the takeover of its police force, yet another test for the limits of presidential authority.
And dozens of newspapers close in the West and Midwest in the latest disappearance of vital local journalism.
Losing the community's history that has been preserved in those newspapers for years is an enormous loss of identity.
Good morning. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin failed to agree to a Ukraine ceasefire.
Well, the two leaders held crunch talks for over 2 hours overnight in Alaska, marking their first face-to-face meeting in 6 years.
While President Trump calls the meeting very productive, President Putin, meanwhile, issues a warning to Europe.
Extremely productive. and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there.
We hope that Kyiv and the European capitals will perceive all of this in a constructive manner and will not create any obstacles or attempt to disrupt the emerging progress through provocations or backroom dealing.
Well, for now, the conflict and the uncertainty continue. But does this meeting signal a whole significant shift in US-Russia relations?
GCSE results day is just coming up next week. It's been suggested that the chronic underperformance of boys must be treated as a national crisis. So are we failing a whole generation of boys?
And a solar-powered plane has soared higher than ever before, smashing altitude records and proving that clean tech can reach for the skies. So is this the dawn of a new aviation era?
Good morning. After an 82-day break, the Premier League returned last night with champions Liverpool making a winning start against Bournemouth at Anfield. Mo Salah was reduced to tears as tributes were paid to his former teammate Diogo Jota. The match was halted in the first half after complaints of racism from Bournemouth striker Antoine Semenyo.
It's a cloudy start across some eastern parts, but fear not, things are going to turn a bit sunnier as we go through the day. However, it's across western parts where we'll have the sunniest skies and also the highest temperatures, but perhaps some gusty winds in the southwest later. I'll have the
Just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Stephen Dixon.
And I'm Anne Diamond, and this is GB News Breakfast.
The battle against child marriage on France 24.
Hello and welcome back to the France 24 newsroom here in Paris. You're watching our special coverage of the summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. Coming up, warm handshakes and talk of progress, but no ceasefire for Ukraine after Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin meet in Alaska. Is it a victory for the Russian leader welcomed on U.S. soil despite the ongoing invasion? We'll have the latest from Anchorage, Alaska with The Guardian's David Smith, reaction from Kyiv with researcher Mariana Bujarin, and analysis here in the studio with France 24's James Andre. After much anticipation, a red carpet welcome, and nearly 3 hours of talks, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin ended their summit in Alaska with no major announcements. No announcements at all, in fact. The two also refused to take questions after making brief statements to the press. Trump called the meeting extremely productive and said they agreed on many points, though he didn't specify what any of those points were. Putin, meanwhile, flattered Trump, saying he agreed that the war he started wouldn't have happened had Trump been in office at the time. Morgan Eyre brings us some of the highlights from Alaska.
After days of anticipation, there's no deal. Donald Trump has walked away from his meeting with Russia's President Putin with very little, but said progress had been made.
I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on. Most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones.
Today, US President Donald Trump hails productive talks with his Russian counterpart in Alaska, despite failing to reach a deal on Ukraine.
We had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on. Most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite got there.
Hundreds killed in monsoon flooding and landslides in Pakistan and India. The Attorney General admits new childcare centre reforms won't stop people from potentially exploiting loopholes in the system. And former Australian cricket captain and coach Bob Simpson dies aged 89. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Melissa McKay. The first meeting between American and Russian leaders since 2021 has wrapped up in Alaska with no deal to end the war in Ukraine. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin say it was successful, but more talks are needed. The Russian president spoke first at the press conference after the meeting.
We're convinced that in order to make the settlement
lasting and long term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate.
Good morning from Alaska, where Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin met face-to-face for almost 3 hours to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. The art of no deal, the US and Russian leaders agree on several points during their meeting, but failed to reach a ceasefire agreement.
We haven't quite got there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal.
Everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it.
Donald Trump rates the summit as 10 out of 10 and says the cards are now in President Zelensky's hands.
Now it's really up to President Zelensky to get it done. And I would also say the European nations, they have to get involved a little bit.
Both leaders are now in the air and heading home. But what happens now will bring you reaction to the summit from around the world throughout the morning. Good morning from Anchorage, where after nearly 3 hours of talks, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin ended their summit on the This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin have held a news conference after holding their first face-to-face meeting in several years at a military base in Alaska. Both have said the summit, which was focused on finding an end to the war in Ukraine, was a positive meeting, but have provided little detail about what they discussed. Ukraine was not invited to the negotiations. Officials in northwest Pakistan say flash floods and landslides have killed nearly 200 people. It follows heavy monsoon rains in the mountainous regions. Some of the deaths were in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Scores of people are still missing. Wildfires burning in Portugal have intensified. Several major blazes are currently out of control, and the former mayor of one town has been killed while helping to fight the fires. Temperatures are expected to increase over the weekend. Conditions in neighbouring Spain are even worse, with firefighters battling 16 major blazes. This is DW News from Berlin. You'll find much more on our website at dw.com.
Headline news this hour.
There's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up.
The highly anticipated Trump-Putin summit ends with no ceasefire in Ukraine nor clear direction on the next steps. Both sides hail their meeting as positive. Devastating flash floods in South Asia, more than 250 people killed in Pakistan and India. Authorities estimate scores are still buried under the debris in Indian-administered Kashmir. And UN-led negotiations aimed at curbing plastic pollution and producing the first legally binding treaty fail. Delegates adjourn with no immediate plans to resume talks. And that's the latest from the CNA newsroom.
Africa News. The news.
As he continues his West Africa tour, Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio has reiterated his wish that the Alliance of Sahel states rejoin regional body ECOWAS. Maada Bio took the rotating presidency of the Economic Community of West African States in June and says he hopes the good relations he has with Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger will work in his favour. The three Junta-led countries formally announced their exit from the 15-nation bloc in January, following the formation last year of their own alliance. They broke away when ECOWAS demanded a restoration of democratic rule in Niger after its 2023 military coup. It's a pivotal time for the West African bloc as the region faces growing threats of terrorism, climate change, military coup and poverty. Maada Bio has stressed the importance of maintaining regional unity as it deals with these challenges. He's pledged to prioritise democracy, security cooperation, economic integration and institutional credibility during his tenure.
The fossilized remains of Lucy, one of the world's most famous prehistoric skeletons, have left Ethiopia for display in Europe for the first time. The 3.2 million year old specimen belonging to the early human ancestor will be exhibited at the Prague National Museum for 2 months.
When we think about Lucy, her scientific value is one thing, right? But on the other hand, Lucy, even though she was found in Ethiopia, she is such an iconic specimen that she belongs to the whole world. So sharing her with the rest of the world is something that everybody would love to see and to do.
Discovered in 1974 in Ethiopia, Lucy's partial skeleton, about 40% complete, offered groundbreaking evidence of early bipedalism, a defining step in human evolution.
And she's uniting people. She is giving people the opportunity to see her, right? So that is how I see her through this time to the general public. So she is becoming like a diplomat, creating connections between people, connections between governments, and this is really positive, and I think it should be encouraged.
Tourists visiting her in Addis Ababa ahead of the trip expressed mixed feelings. Some celebrated the chance for more people to connect with humanity's shared history, while others argued that she should remain in Ethiopia. Lucy will be displayed alongside Salam, a fossil of another baby discovered in the same region and dating back even further.
I think for the rest of the world, that's good to be made more aware where Lucy actually came from and give that connection from them to their past.
This is part of everybody's history. We all stem from this, so everybody should be able to relate to seeing Lucy and see what it means for us as a species as we've evolved.
Czech National Museum Director called the loan a unique insight into the past and a chance to deepen understanding of humanity's roots.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.